Okay, wonderful. So let me just make sure I have the chat open as well, because I want to make sure I'm able to see what you're typing. I can figure out where to open up the chat. Sorry. Okay. So let's get started. How to support your clients when they appear unmotivated. I'll introduce myself again. My name is Faraj-Ardura. I am a nutrition counseling coach for dietitians. I'm also a tenure-track assistant professor of nutrition and dietetics, and I have been teaching nutrition counseling for the past 4 years. And I want to be your biggest ally when it comes to all things nutrition counseling, and that's where the idea came about, to be able to create a resource for dietitians to be able to use. So I'm just going to ask you to please mute if you're not muted as you're coming in. Thank you so much. And here we go. So by the end of today's session, I am hoping that you'll be able to identify the requirements for behavior change. I also would like for you to be able to assess your client's motivation and confidence effectively to figure out what's the barrier, like what's coming up for your clients, and know what to do based on your client's individual situations. And ultimately, my goal when working with dietitians is to help them feel more confident when it comes to being able to know what to do to guide the conversation towards behavior change. So I'm hoping that some of the tips from today's class are going to be things that you can apply to your own practice right after today. Okay, so is this for you? How do you know if this masterclass is for you? Have you ever felt imposter feelings, or have you felt maybe a little bit inadequate because you're supposed to know how to provide effective nutrition counseling, but that's not always the case? And I've been there. I know what this is like. Is this for you? If you want to provide the best client experience and care deeply for your clients and patients, but you feel a little bit guilty that your clients are not making progress, then this is for you. If you have a natural innate ability to connect with people, but yet you're not quite sure how to make your clients move in the direction of change without feeling pushy, then this is for you. And if you're feeling drained after your nutrition counseling sessions, you're feeling maybe unfulfilled as a dietitian, and you really feel like something is missing, you know, like the training you've had so far maybe is not allowing you to make the impact you wish you could be making on your clients, then this is for you. This is not for you if you enjoy feeling stuck in your nutrition counseling sessions. I've been there. It's not a good feeling. This is not for you if you like to take on the heavy burden of responsibility for your client's behavior change. That can weigh quite heavily on someone. And as dietitians, we're always trying to help. And sometimes we end up taking some of this burden, and that makes us really get fatigued and drained with our job. This is not for you if you feel that education is the best approach when it comes to nutrition sessions with your clients. Ideally, it should be a combination of counseling and education. This is not for you if you're not open to learning new skills and prefer a top-down prescriptive approach. And lastly, this is not for you if you feel totally confident, you don't feel the need to level up your nutrition counseling skills. You're still welcome though. So I'd like to open up the chat and ask you all, what is the most challenging part of nutrition counseling for you in your practice as a dietitian? I would love to hear what are some of the things that come up for you. These sound very familiar. If I could wave a magic wand and have all my clients be ready, how great would that be? In reality, the clients that are ready to go ahead and get started with behavior change, are super motivated, are unicorns. And even when we do get those unicorns, guess what? Motivation comes and goes and comes and goes. So it's not going to be enough to know how to guide them when they're really motivated. We have to know how to assess their motivation to also help them when they're struggling. Dealing with clients who are ambivalent is challenging. So these are clients who can maybe change or maybe not change. They're being pulled by two directions and they don't quite know what to do. I wish I could make a bigger impact on my clients' lives. We all want to help. As dietitians, we got into this profession because we truly want to help. And yet, sometimes we're not able to do that if our clients are not completely ready. So then how can we get them? How can we hold a space where we can help resolve this ambivalence, where we can help guide them towards behavior change, meet them where they're at? What is the best way to approach clients who are struggling? So that's going to depend on where the client is and what they're struggling with. The odds are that by the time they come to you, they have tried to fix whatever issue they're dealing with on their own, and they have not been successful at it. And hence, they're seeing you. Not all the time, but this tends to be the case. So I'm here to tell you it's not your fault. This is taken directly from this article published this year. So although the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics recommends that RDs incorporate proven counseling methods such as MI to help clients facilitate desired behavior change, we're not always given enough opportunity to learn, practice, and master such skills in our training. And I want to go ahead and add to that the way that many of us were trained is not optimal. So whether counseling was just reduced to asking open-ended questions, many times when I ask some dietitians if they feel confident doing MI with their clients, they say, yeah, sure, I can ask questions. But for example, a modality like motivational interviewing is so much more than just asking open-ended questions. That's just one tiny fraction of what motivational interviewing is about. And many times that's what tends to stay with us, like asking questions. And yes, asking questions effectively is going to be a big part of it, but it's just one minor part of it. You know what I mean? I don't want to get confusing. Maybe you had a heavy focus on clinical in your training and not so much on counseling. Maybe the nutrition education was a big part of the training, but education has its time and place. Many times clients, if they're not ready to receive education, it's not going to be a good intervention. So we have to use the counseling to be able to know when and how to use education to fill in the gaps if nutrition knowledge is lacking. But if it's not, which is usually the case, then nutrition education will not really cut it. So because of that, we're left feeling like we lack the confidence and we're unsure how to navigate challenging counseling sessions. And this is especially true when more than education is needed. So how do we hold space for someone to be able to guide them through what issues they might be going through, be able to increase their confidence to get them to the next step? That requires, a lot more than we were not trained to do. I know this because I've been teaching counseling, and the materials that I inherited are very different from the materials that I now teach with my students. On the other hand, it's also very different to learn this as a student than it is to learn this and be able to practice it and apply it when you are a dietitian that's out in the field. The struggles are different. The application, the feedback, and the repeating of this and doing it again and again and getting practice is what's going to be pivotal to be able to get that to the next level when it comes to counseling skills. So then this brings me to the next question. I know someone mentioned that time was sometimes an issue with working with clients. I'm curious, if in an ideal situation, how much time would you ideally want to work with clients to get them into maintenance? I'm not talking about appointment length. I'm talking about duration of like nutrition counseling. Think about, is it weeks? Is it months? Ideally, how much time would you want to work with clients to get them into being in a maintenance phase for behavior? About 6 months to truly be able to make a lasting impact on our lives. But keep in mind, everybody's different. Some people might come to you at a higher stage of readiness, so they might just need, 3 months. Others might need a lot more. I'm just saying on average. Ideally, how much time would you want to work with someone to know that they are able to implement and keep on doing what you've been working on and not go back to previous behaviors as easily? So let's just say that 6 months would be a good amount of time to be able to make a lasting impact in our lives. So let's say that on average, you might be getting about $120 per session. I know I took this from one of the nutrition reimbursement sessions or webinars that I watched recently. It can vary for everyone depending on whether you're doing insurance or you're doing self-pay. Let's just say it's $120 average per session for a follow-up. So if clients are dropping off after a couple of sessions and you're potentially missing another 10, 11 sessions to really have them reach maintenance, that's one way to think about a potential loss of revenue when it comes to working financially with a client. So if this were to happen to 50 clients, we could be seeing a potential loss in revenue of like, let's say 60,000. But if this is happening to 100 clients, that's already over $100,000 of lost revenue because we have low client retention. So if you're not tracking retention in your practice, this is one thing that I definitely recommend you start tracking to see how, by enhancing your counseling skills, how that can impact retention. And it's a lot more than just financials, right? We can make a bigger impact if we're able to work with them longer. So then imagine, what if instead you knew exactly how to approach your clients in various stages of change or readiness? If you felt confident in your ability to create relationships and be able to retain clients longer so that you can work with them longer, you can really help them come up with sustainable habits, you would feel amazing about the impact you'll be able to make on your clients' lives if you can retain them longer. And imagine if you didn't feel stressed out about holding a space to be able to resolve ambivalence and be able to guide the sessions. So to me, this all sounds very desirable. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat if these things are things that you're working towards. Okay, so today we're going to learn a lot, but we don't have time to go into everything. If only it was that simple. The Nutrition Counseling Academy's complete framework includes foundations of behavior change, science, application, coaching, and immediate feedback, ongoing implementation and personalized support, discussion and troubleshooting challenges and challenging cases. And then there's an application to do this in one-to-one, but also one-to-many or in group settings. So for today, what we're going to go over, this is my whole framework for the Nutrition Counseling with Confidence framework. Today, we're going to go over 2 aspects. So we're going to go over aspects of foundations of behavior change science, and also some of the skills needed to be able to help your clients resolve whatever issue might be happening. Is it that they are unmotivated truly, or is it that they're lacking confidence? Whoops. Okay, so do you find yourself struggling with any part of this process? Maybe I should have gone a little bit more into this. So this process, I first go into behavior change science. I talk in depth about a therapeutic relationship and the counseling fundamentals. And then we go into 2/3 of the program is actually implementation, role-playing, troubleshooting, and discussion. So everything that you wish you were taught about counseling in a nutshell. I built this thinking about the issues that dietitians are facing in their day-to-day as practicing dietitians, and not what needs to be taught as a dietetics training, but more so, how can we implement this and troubleshoot and get personalized feedback to be able to discuss challenging cases and really move forward. So this is my framework, and today we're going to go into 2 of these. Now, do you find yourself struggling with any part of this particular process? What would you do if you could master each part? So this is just a question for you to think about. Skills to be able to tackle any case that would come your way. How would you feel if that were the case? So if that's okay with you, I'm going to share a little bit about myself. I did all my schooling at UMass Amherst, and I did my undergrad in nutrition and dietetics. master's in nutrition as well. I went on to do my dietetic internship once I was already doing my PhD. So it was a little bit later in life. And then I finished my PhD. My PhD work was focused on nutrition and mental health. And I was hired, let's say I defended my dissertation quite on a Thursday, and I was starting my new full-time job on that next Monday. So I was hired by Mountainside Treatment Center to create and manage a nutrition program at a substance use rehab, and I absolutely loved it. And I found myself doing everything that I wish I could be doing. And I was able to, they gave me so much freedom to just build this program as I saw fit. And then it dawned on me that a lot of my training was on nutrition education. So luckily, I was working with a lot of therapists, social workers, counselors, and I would attend all of their trainings. And that really helped me enhance my own counseling skills. So any training they would go to, I'd be going to those too. And then I was able to take on more longer term trainings for different modalities when it came to nutrition counseling. And then I started teaching this a couple of years later, and I've been teaching this for 4 years. So my background when it comes to nutrition is nutrition for substance use rehab, nutrition and mental health. I practice as intuitive eating, health at every size, weight inclusive type of practitioner. However, I am open to working with any and all dietitians, regardless of your niche and your approach, because when it comes to counseling, it's the strategies that are going to be put into place depending on your client's needs and your approach. And then I was hired to be an assistant professor at Framingham State University, and I really wanted to go back into academia. I loved it. I missed it because I'm an educator at heart. So for me, this was my dream come true, and I have been able to teach hundreds of dietitians about counseling, and I've been able to also present at Fancy this year. And I'm also a mother to 2 little ones, a 4.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, who are my whole wide world. So as doing this job, it made me realize that there's a lot of dietitians out there who really want to enhance their counseling skills. So that made me start thinking about ways to reach out to dietitians. And that's when I created the Nutrition Counseling Academy in January 2022. So it's been almost a year. My goal was to reach dietitians, dietetic interns, nutrition professionals who are like really yearning to enhance their communication skills, their counseling skills, so they can make a bigger impact on their clients' lives. That's what we all want as dietitians. So why not create something that can help others who need this? So if you're not following me yet, you can always go to nutrition.counseling.academy on Instagram and you can follow me. Or you can search on Facebook, Nutrition Coaching and Counseling for Dietitians. And I have a Facebook group where I hold mini trainings pretty often. I think I have over 20 mini trainings in that group that I've been able to provide to the members just based on different topics that people want to learn more about. So I welcome you to follow me on Instagram or connect through Facebook. And I would love to keep the conversation going and discuss any nutrition counseling issues or strategies you want to talk about. Okay, so that was a lot of background. Who is ready to dive in? Let's get started. Type a 1 if you're ready to dive into the foundations of behavior change. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so many times when we have a client that appears unmotivated, what we're actually seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. So that's when counseling skills can really come into play and become really useful, because it's going to allow us to work more effectively with our clients to be able to figure out or assess what's going on and target their needs, to figure out exactly what they need and target their needs. I'm repeating myself with the strategies that I'm going to show you. There are many different theories out there for behavior change, and that's because behavior change is quite complex. It's more complex than just having the knowledge to change. If that was it, change would be quite easy, but we know that that's not the case. So regardless of which behavior change theory out there you look at, there are similarities amongst them. And there are some aspects of each behavior change theory that tends to be more indicative of behavior change or more predictive of behavior change. So I've picked out 5 different requirements that account for most behavior change. And I'm gonna go through each one of these. So the first one is the client needs to perceive disease risk or severity. So many of you might be familiar with this one. It's a big part of the health belief model. The client also needs to believe that their efforts will be worth it to achieve the outcome. So together, these two can drive motivation. Now, the remaining 3 have to do with client confidence. So the client needs to believe they're able to make a change. They also need to be able to believe they can overcome barriers. And lastly, the plan should be driven by the client, and it should be within their abilities, their skills, their knowledge, their resources, and their environment. So this is where the personalized counseling really comes into place. And I'm going to teach you how to do all of these. So when your client appears unmotivated, we have to assess where does our client stand on each of these 5 requirements. So let's go into the first one. Is the client perceiving the disease risk or severity if they don't change their behavior? So how is their current behavior associated to an undesirable outcome? Is the client informed about the consequences of their behavior? So I just have a check mark and an X mark so that the idea is, this is the first one that we will go into. And if the client does not perceive risk or severity of disease, and that's going to be a big block to behavior change. So tips to tackle this. The first one would be to raise awareness or consciousness. And we can do this by asking them about what they know about the connection between diet or X behavior and X condition or disease. So a good one would be to assess their knowledge and raise awareness. How does that particular thing relate then to their own risk? That's where we personalize the risk. Does anyone in their family have the health condition? So you see, by asking them this question, they're getting closer to perceiving a risk of a condition. Another one is, are they aware of the consequences? Many people just are not. They might think of diabetes, but they never think of dialysis as being an unwanted consequence of diabetes or hypertension. So are they aware of the consequences? Another one would be to assess the values and beliefs, and this one can be done at various different requirements for behavior change, but I decided to add it here. When we assess values and beliefs, we want to do this with genuine curiosity and in no way do this in a judgmental manner. That's why it's going to be really important to set the foundations of a trusting therapeutic relationship from the get-go, and also kind of take it slow and dive a little bit deeper at the beginning so that once trust is established, direction can be done more quickly following that. So when we assess the values, we want to ask them, what do they value? What's important to them? Do they value health? Do they value family? Just an example, if they value health and they value family time, and being healthy, but yet their behaviors don't quite align with their values, then how does that make them feel to have that pointed out in a compassionate form? This is cognitive dissonance. So this is a powerful motivator because people like to be consistent with their thoughts, their feelings, their attitudes, their beliefs, their actions. And when inconsistencies arise and we're able to point them out, there's an imbalance created. And then people want to get back to reducing that imbalance and going back to consistency. So it can help them change their attitude towards a behavior or regain the feeling of consistency through changing behavior. Another one is to help them visualize what life would look like if no change was made. And this going back to, are there worthy consequences? Are there worthy consequences? And if so, is that an outcome that they're willing to accept? So many times when someone is not aware of the risk or severity, motivation is going to be extremely low. They might be in pre-contemplation or maybe going into contemplation. So by being able to navigate this, we can get them closer to just thinking about change. Not necessarily acting, but just thinking about it. And for me, that's progress, because a lot of nutrition counseling has to do with mental work. And mental work, even though we've been taught that we need an action plan and people need to leave our offices with, goal 1, 2, and 3, in reality, everything up until action is just going to be mental work. So a lot of mental work is required, and we tend to underestimate this. Number 2, is the client perceiving their efforts to be worth it? Do the pros outweigh the cons? How many of you have encountered this? You can type a 1 in the chat if the client is maybe not perceiving their efforts to be worth it. So once people believe the benefits or the advantage of making a change definitely outweigh the disadvantages, they're going to be more motivated to change. So then how do we tackle this one? A great tool to use is, actually, let me start over again. I'm going to start this one off by saying that it's going to be essential for dietitians to have a clear understanding of your client's goals and their big reason for why they want to change their behaviors. Because when people don't know their big reason for change, they're less likely to stay committed or to get motivated. So it's really going to be essential for you to know your client, for you and your client to know your client's future desired self, that future self that they want, before we can start really working towards a plan. So there's a lot of mental work as well. And we can do this by a guided visualization activity. And this is called a fork in the road. I really like this one. So when you guide your client through this activity, you're walking them through visualizing what their life would be like. And the tip is to first guide them through what life would look like if no change was made. If they kept on doing the same behaviors, what would happen in 6 months? What would happen in a year? What would happen in 5 years? And then let them, visualize what that would look like. And then you help them visualize what life would look like if they were to make that change. So you see what we did there? We're guiding them towards visualizing what their life would look like after 6 months, a year, 5 years, if they were successful with behavior change. And it's going to be important to end with the change being made and how that would impact their lives, because that's going to set the stage for you as a dietitian to be drawing out more change talk. Change talk is any type of statement that indicates a desire, ability, reason, or need to want to change. And the more people say change talk, the more likely they are to convince themselves of changing and that change is desirable. So I really love this activity. Another one would be to make a list of pros and cons of staying the same versus pros and cons of making a behavior change. And the tip here is going to be to ask them, once they're getting to the pros of making a change, keep on asking them, so what else? What else would be different? What other benefit could you get from making this change? Because you keep on drawing out more reasons for change that are coming from the client's own lived experience. And it's going to be important to also draw out why change is important to them. Why is behavior change important to you? Why is it that you want to make this behavior change? What would be different in your life if you were to make this change? The deeper they think about these questions, the more meaningful they will become to them. That also means we have to give them more space to be able to process and answer these questions. So in my program, a big part of this is learning how to ask effective questions and get your clients thinking and talking about behavior change. Number 3 is, does the client believe they can change their behavior? Confidence and self-efficacy. So is the client, does the client believe they have the ability, they have the skills, they have the knowledge, they have the support and resources to change their behavior? Now we're getting into do they have the confidence? So the first 2 were, do they have the motivation? Now we're moving into, do they have the confidence to be able to change their behavior? So perceived behavior control is going to be a person's confidence in their own ability to perform the behavior and whether they believe they can overcome barriers and challenges. That's going to be really important because self-efficacy and confidence directly relate to whether someone performs the desired behavior or not. And it's a part of many behavior change theories. So then how to tackle when someone's confidence or self-efficacy are low? We can raise our clients' confidence by using affirmations. How many are familiar with affirmations? You can do a 1, or you can write affirmations. I once heard one of my mentors describe affirmations as hugs with words, and I love that definition. So, of course, it's a very simplistic definition, but it carries the emotion, the sentiment, right? We use affirmations to raise our clients' confidence. What affirmations are, they are supportive statements that recognize a client's strengths, efforts, and knowledge behaviors that lead in the direction of change, no matter how big or small, regardless of whether they're in the past or they're present. So by using affirmations, we're focusing on them. We're not using I language, we're using you language with our clients. An example is, you have done this before and have what it takes. You're someone who perseveres when you know what you want. So by using affirmations, we're helping build that confidence and their ability to get something done. So always focus on the client. And affirmations and empowering or strength-based approach are they're very much overlapping, but we have to empower our clients with a strength-based approach. This means we're going to focus on what has been working. Any positive experiences and successes that the client has had are going to be the focus of the discussion. So what has worked for them? What successes have they had? These are going to highlight any personal strengths that they might have. So think of patience, persistence, consistency, all those are strengths. And it's going to be important for you to have this discussion with the client to ask them what they think their strengths are, what helped them get through different challenging situations, what helped them be able to be consistent with the behavior that they were consistent with in the past. So a strength-based approach is going to influence how the individual processes their own thoughts and emotions. And by empowering them, we can help them feel like they have what it takes to get something done or to take the next step. The other part is when it comes to helping the client, they're going to be experts in their own lives. So they're going to know best what works or what they need. So we can ask them, what do you need to feel more confident in your ability to, let's say, meal prep, in your ability to do X, Y, or Z? Is it that they need education? Is it that they need skills? Is it that they need training or support? You know, what do they feel they need? And how can you help them brainstorm ideas or ways to get what they need to be able to feel more confident in their ability to do something? Okay, everybody good so far? Let's move on to number 4. Does the client believe that he or she can overcome their barriers? So perceived barriers are the most significant factor in determining behavior change. So it's going to be essential for dietitians to be able to expand our assessment when we're with our clients to include the exploration of barriers to change. So what are barriers? Barriers are going to be a person's view of the obstacles that stand in the way of barriers. Would be something like financial resources, lack of transportation. Intangible barriers might be something like fear or embarrassment or inconvenience, or their own mindset. So it's going to be essential to try to figure out why your client is where they're at, because they've obviously tried things in the past and they might have not worked because they're there to meet with you. So we're going to have to explore barriers, and everybody has barriers. We all have barriers. They need to be discussed. And if barriers are stronger than benefits, change is not going to happen. So by discussing these barriers with our clients, we're providing the space to really talk about what's getting in the way of their progress. And together we can work towards a solution to overcome those barriers. This might also be a good place to talk about discussing expectations. How many of you have had clients who want to maybe get to a particular goal really quickly, or they do something for a couple of days and they realize they're not getting the results they're expecting and they kind of gave up? So it's a good place to discuss expectations at the beginning of your relationship with your clients, so that they know that it's going to be a journey and they can have an idea of how quickly to expect to see results. And it's not going to be overnight, and we all know that. Hence why we want to build a good relationship with our clients so we can keep on working with them and really help them get to where they want to be. So how long would it take them to start seeing some results while working with you? And come back to this idea pretty often, because people tend to forget, and we don't want them to get demotivated because they're not seeing results. So because mentality and failure to meet expectations are also a common barrier, it's important to be able to have these open discussions with our clients, that they know what to expect. Another very common barrier that I've noticed is the all or nothing mentality. And this is something that has taken a lifetime for someone to develop. And it's obviously not going to go away overnight. But by adjusting the mindset with your clients from the all or nothing to focusing on frequency of doing a behavior or consistency of doing a behavior, that's going to be key to dismantling the all or nothing mentality. And also a little bit of like CBT as well, with the automatic negative thoughts when something doesn't go their way. And then lastly, the confidence ruler. Maybe this is something that many of you have tried before or are familiar with. This is a great way to assess barriers, because once you're coming up with a plan with your client, you ask them, so on a scale of 0 to 10, how confident are you that you can meet this one goal? If they tell you that they are at a 7 out of 10, that gives you an indication that there are barriers in the way. So what could be getting in the way? What would need to change for your client to be at a 9 or a 10? And just by asking that, you can get them talking about what things they know are going to get in the way or could get in the way. So that would be a good time to brainstorm how to overcome those barriers, but also to potentially adjust the plan or the goal. Okay, how are we doing? We got one more left. Are we still good? So number 5 is the plan practical? Is it doable within the client's current abilities, resources, and environment? And is it a SMART goal? So you're probably are very familiar with SMART goals, but do we consider the practicality and how feasible goals are? It's going to be essential to not overwhelm our clients. An overwhelmed client is going to be a frozen client. We can overwhelm them easily with too much information. They don't need too much information. There's a common pitfall. Dietitians want to give all the solutions, and then the client feels overwhelmed. They might lack the focus to figure out what to work on because they have so many things in their head, and the plan might be too overwhelming. So that can lead them to, you're setting them up for failure when we overwhelm them. people cannot cope with too much. So do not overwhelm your client with too much information or too many goals. Allow the client to pick the smallest step possible to start with. If they're at A and they want to get to Z, don't think about going from A to M and then to Z, but how do you get from A to B, from B to C? C, not Z. Anyways, so how do you guide them so that they can come up with the smallest possible goal that seems feasible given their life situation? And then you would do the confidence ruler to see how confident they are that they can actually do that. I prefer to tell my clients to work on one goal at a time and have them prove to me that they're able to tackle that one goal at a time. It might seem very insignificant, very small, but if you think about it, when you're doing one thing and you're more consistent with doing one thing, that can really increase someone's confidence in their ability to do that one thing and maybe add one more thing. But if they leave your office or your session with a list of 3 things to do, and they stop doing one, then they do well on the other one, they forget about the third one, they're already feeling like a failure. So have them do one thing and see how consistent they are with that one thing. And then you can build upon that. So we can adjust this as needed. Clients should know that they don't need to earn their visits with you. If they're struggling, then that might be the best time to come see you again. That might be the best time to reassess the plan. Change the plan, change the strategy. Perfectly fine. It happens to all of us. There's no shame in adjusting our goals, especially when life gets in the way. And pick the one with the highest return on investment to enhance confidence and to help with results. This means pick a goal that's going to be easy for the client to follow through with. Pick a goal that has the highest possibility they're actually going to do it, that's doable for them. They're relatively easy and they're going to make the client feel better. So that's going to help them bring their confidence up. I know that many times as dietitians, we have this pressure. Don't know where we got it from. We have this pressure to move our clients and move them faster through our sessions, get them with, acting faster to their goals and reaching more goals. When in reality, just slowing down, going at their pace, meeting them based on what they need is going to be a better strategy to work with them longer term and really get them to change their habits for good. Because changing habits is not easy. It's no easy feat. So then that was a lot of information at once. I would like to ask you, which of these strategies so far you felt would be useful and you would like to implement? If anything, I'm going to give you a minute. So if anything stuck out to you from the different tips and strategies, what would you like to start trying out in your sessions? If there's anything that you thought important for you to enhance your counseling skills, what difference would it make for you to feel more confident in your own counseling skills? We all want to help. We really genuinely, truly want to help our clients. And that's at the basis of why we're doing this, right? Why we came into this profession. So thank you for sharing why it's important to you. So that leaves the next question. Is there anything else that you could do or that you could be doing? At this point, you worked so hard for your degree, for your credentials. You worked so hard to get clients. Is there anything else that you could be doing to truly provide your clients with the best experience, to really be able to make an impact on their lives and to propel your business, if you are a private practitioner, into success, to be able to retain your clients longer? So I'll show you how I can help dietitians in general. I have had a few clients who share some wonderful testimonials. So if you've been wondering what it's like to work with a counseling coach, here are some testimonials. After one-to-one coaching, Christina felt I provided creative and easy strategies to improve her nutrition coaching sessions. Gabrielle on the right is aware of the importance of the relationship with the healthcare provider and how important that is to influencing behavior change. And she's right. Sometimes the relationship that we as dietitians create with our clients might be enough to bring about change. So Gabrielle is an entrepreneur, which can be a lonely journey, and she felt our conversations made her feel like she had an ally and a teammate to help her support her clients in the best way that she could. Kiara here was able to use the techniques I showed her in our coaching call to re-sign a client. So she is using her coaching skills, not only to help with nutrition counseling, but also with keeping clients or retaining clients. She felt I provided her with the insights and the step-by-step strategies that she could use to help her explore her clients' barriers. And I also provided with the exact verbiage as to what to say to be able to assess her client's readiness for change and come up with strategies that were appropriate for her client. Lucy felt her stress levels about her upcoming client sessions were cut in half and her confidence significantly increased to the point she actually started looking forward to her session with the client who she had been dreading to see earlier. So for me, this is so worth it to have the opportunity to help other dietitians do their best work and feel confident with how they approach their nutrition counseling sessions to be able to truly help their clients. This is priceless. So what if instead you knew exactly how to approach clients in various stages of change? What if you felt confident in your ability to create relationships and retain clients? You felt amazing about the impact you're able to make on your clients' lives, and you didn't stress out about how to hold space and guide the conversations. How would these help you? It's just something to think about. So this is a framework I have created, and it's mostly focused, like I mentioned, on struggles that dietitians have who are already practicing. So when it comes to figuring out, what to do in your sessions, we tend to focus heavily on applying the information and strategies in role-playing sessions while discussing challenges for real-life scenarios and how to overcome them in the session. So it's going to be about 1/3 of the background, let's say the fundamentals, and about 2/3 of just application, implementation, personalized support and feedback, going through the stages of change, appropriate interventions, how to assess those, the spirit, the attitude someone brings into sessions to be able to really connect with your clients, all the micro skills for counseling, and then practitioner mindset. So what if you knew that all this burden of responsibility for behavior change didn't have to be on you, can actually be on your client, and how to make that shift so that you're just there to guide the conversation to really help them decide how to move forward is going to be really essential in feeling more fulfilled as a dietitian. Discussing real life case scenarios in a peer-to-peer group setting is so key, because we learn from others. We also learn from others' mistakes, and it's really good to have a conversation going to figure out what has worked for others, what hasn't worked, and then how can we apply behavior change science to different case scenarios. So it's going to be a lot of role playing and discussion. So if this is something that any of you is interested in, I have a 10-week hybrid coaching program. It is starting on December 7th, and it's 9 live teaching and coaching calls in a group setting, 75 minutes each, and the replay will be available. It's going to be a heavy focus on application, implementation, and the how-to of effective nutrition counseling, with a strong focus on MI and inclusive strategies. So a lot of focus on the fundamentals of counseling and behavior change, and then the application of that. Discussion, troubleshooting real cases. In addition to the 9 group sessions, there's going to be 2 one-to-one sessions or 2 one-to-one coaching calls, and review of up to 2 nutrition counseling sessions. So if you're someone who's able to get permission from your client or your patient to record the session, whether it's just audio or if it's maybe a transcript, if you feel comfortable with that, or another video, I can then review that and I can provide you personalized support and feedback on where there's room for improvement. Daily support and accountability. And really, who doesn't love to be in a community of like-minded individuals who are working towards similar goals, to be able to learn faster in an environment that is suitable to learning? So it also provides a community. So this is valued at $1,597, but the beta launch is going to be priced at $797, and that's for the 10 weeks of coaching. The Black Friday deal is going to be $100 off, so only $697 if you register by Friday, November 25th by midnight. Just something to think about. And what's important here is that you can get started right away in December so that you start 2023 with your best foot. So the next step, if you're interested, would be to either schedule a discovery call to learn more, or I'm going to send you through chat my sales sheet with the details of everything that's going to be in it. Or if you are someone that's already interested, you know you want to do this, then you can go to this QR code and you can also register. This is going to be offered in the spring as well. I'm thinking February, March for the second round. And so if you want to wait, that's fine. The only thing is that it's going to be a little bit pricier once the spring comes. So it's going to be priced around $1,000 at that time. So there are two options. If you're ready to make 2023 your most successful year yet when it comes to client retention, when it comes to making an impact on your clients, and when it comes to, if you're doing private practice, when it comes to prospering in your private practice, then there are two options. We have the Black Friday special on the right, and we have a payment plan, which is $297 a month for 3 months. And I know you must be thinking, well, holidays are coming, so what's going to happen then? I'm going to have a break for the week of the holidays. So that's why it's going to be 10-week duration, but 9 sessions. So we're going to take a 1-week break from the call. There's still going to be the community and everything else accessible during that time. So you're still going to have access to me and I can give you feedback. It's just going to be a week off from live coaching. So I am going to share a document on the chat. If anyone is interested, everyone in the meeting, you can go ahead and open up that document. And you can see like the curriculum and you can see what it entails, and you can just save that document so you can open it later. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any questions? We're a little bit over time, but I'd love to hang around to see if you have any questions that I can answer for you. I want to stop the share. Any questions at all? Any questions about the content or about? Okay, so when do we meet? For this program, we'll be meeting on Wednesdays from 4 to 5:15 p.m. Eastern time. If you don't have any questions, then thank you so much for coming. I'm going to hang around to answer any questions. If anyone has any coaching questions or counseling questions, I'd be happy to chat. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming. And you will be getting an email for thank you and with the links in case you're interested in signing up.